a key point like I referred back to. I got smacked in the head with this memory of with one of my mentors, and we were talking about they're called pressure breakers. We just call that's like the category we put these phrases in of the we got this or this and that, right? Very similar things that when I was being taught about these is things to say to your athletes, but also things that you can educate parents with, right? And the success rate of the athlete jumps, it skyrockets, and it's done in several different studies when there's these phrases that are used that help support them instead of expect from them, right? And it's again, it sounds obvious, but the one that is continuously shown to be such a positive thing is the I love watching you do you, right? And that's like, so phrases like that are empowering to the athlete, just like go be yourself regardless of the result. I'm here for it. We're here to embrace all of this and take that 1% better approach, right? And it's just like, so that's something I try to do. That's a lot of times the athlete might not have the most confidence, or they might have that vulnerable moment right before where they're about to compete, and they say, you see it in their eyes, man. They're like, this is, I don't know, is this gonna go or is it not gonna happen right now, And so those moments is when you hit the, hey, I care about you, you're amazing, let's go, or the, hey, go, I love watching you do what you do, like that's I love that phrase, and that's just one that's been a common theme. So what that is a pressure breaker. It initially it takes off all the weight off the shoulders and lets them just go perform, right, regardless of what the situation might be.
I think that's absolutely amazing coming from both of you, and giving those different perspectives as to just being able to well, the next thing could be about getting over obstacles. But before we get to that, I think it's important to kind of talk about, Marcus, you spoke about your students and your kids, and Cameron, you're talking about like your coaching your team now, and then now we're kind of getting into the national. So let's say you have to coach someone that you don't necessarily know, right? How from each perspective, whether it's you have somebody ask you, Marcus, to coach one of their kids just because they have to cover, or Cameron nationally coaching in sitting in the chair, like how do you build that type of relationship or connection with someone you may not be able to see every day? They're not at their trainings every day. What do you need as a parent, as a splash grassroots coach? And Cameron, what do you feel that can be done in order to kind of build that so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I can take it from my vantage point. It happens often, and I think the biggest thing is for me is I try to put them into an environment, if possible. I put them into an environment with athletes that I do have familiarity with, and I said, and like in Kumite, I say, let's just run through some drills. Show me what you do, right? Let me see you do you. And then when I see things that I think resonate really well, I really try to. It's funny, the comment that Cameron made is I really try and focus on celebrating their expression of themselves, right? Oh man, that's really good. I really like that. That's good. And then what I try to offer is if I see a small increment of where a micro adjustment that they can make that makes it more effective, I do that. Macro adjustments don't work when you have an athlete that you have that you don't have a familiarity with, or you don't have a deep rapport with. But micro adjustments and positive reinforcements work well. And so I'll do that. And then when it comes time to being the chair, I usually my comment is, all right, man, let's go, let's do you, right? And before the match, I'll say, okay, I want you to run your play the way that you're comfortable. I'm gonna look for opportunities. If I see an opportunity, I'm gonna call it, but you're in the moment. It's your moment. You gotta feel your moment. And so I'll call it. If you don't see it, that's okay. But if I call it, I'm telling you, I believe that you got it. Okay. Now, usually that works well. The places where it's more difficult is when you get into those pressure cooker situations, right? You're down to the wire. It's a moment or a second or a point against who's going to win or lose. Those are the most difficult when you're kind of a visiting coach, and it really comes down to that's usually when their desperation and their desire for your input is highest. in which case it really is, I don't know how I could, there's not a general explanation I could give for that. It really has to come down to what the rapport that you're able to accomplish with that athlete. But then either way, whatever the outcome when it's over, I celebrate. We celebrate them. Yeah, you did really well. That situation got a little bit out of our hands. You did the best that you can. You did a great job. You have good strategy. Let's think about it. Maybe we can review later and talk about things that we could have done differently. I usually try and separate them from the moment, and then we come back and review it. But that's been the approach that I've taken.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, for sure. No, it's I mean, a lot of what Sensei Marcus just said is super applicable to what we try and do, and based on, I can feel a little bit in the way that he's explaining it. There's so many options that go depending on what the response of the athlete is, and we have like this mental playbook, right? So if the athlete, if you're trying to compliment them on something and they just kind of like nod their head like, yeah, I guess it's okay, right? We know where to go with that. We know where to guide that energy and keep it going forward. If you just gave me face value, hey, go figure this athlete out right now, the first thing I would do is take care of the basics. And what I mean by that is quite literally take care of the basics. Hey, you got water? How was your warm-up? Do you have all your gloves? Let's make sure we're the right color. This like literally the basics are covered, right? And that's going to lay the foundation for the relationship that I have with them. And as soon as that's able to go, then I'll take the step towards, okay, here's what the play is. Here's what you're feeling. Hey, let's just throw a few techniques, this, that, whatever. Something I pride myself on, and I can trust myself with, is the vision of like, okay, if I just see the way they move for about 15 seconds, I can develop a full gameplay of how they're going to effectively move and how to work against somebody else, right? I don't really necessarily need to see a full practice with them. I can kind of play out how it's going to work. All I need to do is help guide, but then also see what their responses are so I can continuously adjust, if you will, not manipulate, right? Adjust to what they're doing, and then help empower what they're doing, right? And celebrate, right? And again, that's why I said there's so many correlations between what Sensei Marcus just said, and celebrate the things that are happening. I think that's a massive part, right? Especially with then looking at the large scale, with the country being the size that it is, right? If I see an athlete 3 times a year, I'm not going to be able to give him those macro adjustments, right? I can do a debrief call with them. Hey, I think you should work on this, but in the moment, come on, you're not seeing them on that regular basis. So celebrating things that you want and continuously empowering them to do the things that are helping them are going to be the short-term, mid-term, long-term things that are going to respond well. So that way, when I do see them down the line, we have something to go off of and then build off of. You know what I'm saying? And then as soon as like I see an athlete maybe 2 times, I can tell you right now, Cheryl, again, part 2 of the me just trying to be the best coach that I can be. After 2 times, I know I can have the rapport to where they're telling me, hey, how can I adjust this? Right? What do you think about this? It's not just me saying, hey, fix this. No. We're past that point. So where now it's a conversation. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you, and you're here to use me as a resource to whatever way, right? And so that's kind of like the 3 steps that I would probably process or use towards that.
And I think in what I'm just getting from both of you, which I think is absolutely amazing. I like the pressure breaker. I think that's extremely important. I can actually remember being an athlete, and when given those kind of pressure breaker sentences to me, or words to me, it definitely changed. If I was, feeling down that day, it just wasn't working that day, and that kind of alleviated whatever I was feeling. Like, for example, when I had competed, my legs were feeling super heavy, and all I had to do, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do if I can't move? I'm like, in my mind, just constantly like self-talk. I went to my coach at the time. Actually, this is a German Open, so it was Ariel, and I was like, hey, my legs aren't working. Oh, that's normal. You're okay. You're just nervous. Don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then it wasn't like, well, your legs, of course they're working. Why? What do you mean they're not working? Like, it wasn't to deflate what I was feeling. It was acknowledging what I felt. It became normal. And then I was like, so it's okay that my legs aren't okay. And then it literally kind of just alleviated everything. So I was able to make up with my own plan, like, all right, if my legs aren't working, I'm not going to be moving that much. And that alleviated even more because now I had a plan. And then I was able to, get through that tournament without like, oh my God, my legs aren't working. So those types of like acknowledgments, empowerments, and being able to be celebrated, I think is really, really important, and definitely could be, utilized. But Marcus, do you want to say something?
Yeah, it's funny because I think it's fantastic for me to hear the kind of the unity